This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this webinar on the new Practitioner and Agile Quality, the PAQ course. I just want to do a sound check. Can I just check that you can hear me? And if you can hear me, could you put something in the chat tab just to acknowledge that you can hear my voice? Okay, so I've just got a chat message from Claire. You can hear me okay? I've got some people just joining at the moment. So what I'd like to do, if it's possible, is if we can mute your microphones while we do the presentation. It's going to be about a 15 to 20 minute presentation, after which I'll open things up for questions. But it usually just works better on feedback and bandwidth if you can mute your mics for now, and we'll do the questions through the microphones and through the audio later on. So this is a webinar about the PAQ course, the new Practitioner in Agile Quality. Just to let you know who I am, I'm John Young. I'm a principal trainer at TSG Training. I've been around for quite some time. I'm an accredited trainer for both the ISTQB and ISQI training schemes, of which the ISQI are the exam provider for the Practitioner Agile Quality. So what I'm going to cover today in this session is initially, I'll explain what the qualification is and what we mean by an Agile practitioner. And this being a practitioner level course, I'll explain exactly what the expectations of a practitioner. And then I'll spend a bit more time in explaining the 6 key competency areas that are covered by the course. And then I'll explain a little bit about how the practical and experiential learning approach works to the course. I'll then explain the methods being used in the exam and how the exam works, and then I'll open things up for questions. So this is a new qualification, the Practitioner Agile Quality. The intention of the qualification is to demonstrate through the exam and the assessment that candidates have practical competence in the skills to be able to deliver quality within an Agile team. So different to things like ISTQB's exams, which are mainly based around theory and use multiple choice format, this is a practical course with a practical assessment. It is a replacement for the ISQI Certified Agile Tester, the CAQ exam and exact course. The intention is to give a similar qualification, but more emphasis on practical rather than the scenario-based exams which you got with the old CAT exam. So this is a 3-day course, including the exam. So that's 2 days shorter than the old CAT course, if that's something you're familiar with. But in a similar manner, the intention is to make to this a very intensive, time box oriented training course and training exam and training experience. So rather than a purely lecture-based course, this is a team-based learning experience where we're going to do a lot of the teaching and learning via practical exercises and very much focus on honing and acquiring your practical skills, but using an experiential and collaborative approach so that everybody gets the chance to share their experiences and propose ideas with things that have worked for them so that people can try things out and learn by working together. The intention of the course is to allow people who've already got some Agile experience to increase particularly their collaborative and quality assessment skills so that you've got the chance of working faster and delivering faster in a, apologies for that. That's my email going off. So apologies for that sound coming across. So the intention of the course is to up your skills and give you confidence that you can work in a more accelerated way and allow your teams to deliver quality software in as quick and efficient manner as possible. So this intention of this course is to replace the old ISQI Certified Agile Tester course. So the intention is to cover similar skills to assess similar competences, but with the emphasis more on the practical skills, the practical learning, rather than the explanations in depth of the Agile concepts and principles. So what we mean by a practitioner is firstly anybody involved in an Agile team, but the intention of this course is it's set at a practitioner level so that this isn't intended to be an Agile primer. The expectations of people coming on this course and people taking this certification is that they've already got some theoretical knowledge. They're already aware of the basic Agile concepts and methods and terminology. So the intention here is to very much from the start get into applying things. So the assumption is that people involved in this course, and certainly by the end of the course, they're going to be able to understand and apply testing approaches as a team. So to do that, the expectation is that you've already got some understanding of what testing is all about, and that you're able to apply some basic techniques so that things like partition testing and boundary testing are easily applied. And also that you can separate the idea of functional testing from non-functional testing. The expectation in the course is that you be able to understand the basic ideas behind spotting performance problems and usability problems as well as functional problems, and be able to explain what those problems are in any dialogue you're having with the team members. So practitioners who are involved in quality, Agile idea being that everybody in the team is responsible for quality. So the intention of this learning session is to involve testers, anybody with the QA background, developers, business analysts, project managers, team leaders, scrum masters, anybody who's going to be involved in assessing and delivering quality would get some value out of this session. So there is some prerequisite expectations. Because this is a practitioner level course, it's not a primer. The expectation is that somebody, to get the best out of the course, has either had up to 2 years experience working on Agile projects, or they had some prior Agile training to give them the grounding in those basic concepts and ideas. So something like the Certified Scrum Master Pro course, or something like ISTQB's Foundation Extension for Agile Testers would give you a good grounding. The reason for this is we're working in a lot of time-boxed sessions and time-boxed exercises, and people who've not got that basic prerequisite knowledge may struggle to complete all the tasks, and certainly would have some challenges in working through the assessment. So it's very much a course to build on experience and knowledge and to put things into a practical perspective. And what we concentrate on within the course is focusing on 6 key competency areas. So making sure that people have an agile mindset, that they can work together, use their soft skills, the communication, the collaboration, the judgment in collaborating together, and that they understand how to put the Agile manifesto and the Agile principles into practice when under pressure in a team context. But also the competency of faster delivery. The intention through the sessions of the course are to allow people to work together and spot possible efficiency improvements as they work together, and learning to become more lean in their methods of working so that they minimize the amount of work that is wasted. So we're maximizing the amount of work not done by only focusing on those things that are most effective, and learning from ourselves and how we actually work together as a team to find the most effective and efficient approaches. Being a course which is looking at quality, the competency of building quality in from the start, making sure that we're looking at the quality of the product and the stories being implemented in the context of every kind of persona, every kind of user perspective that's relevant to the project and relevant to the team. And that we're looking at that from the very, very start, so that we're challenging stories, we're challenging designs, and spotting and preventing problems from happening at the start. In a similar sense, this is the idea of the engineering principles. We're focusing on building quality in so that we do build the right product. Although Agile is about rework and reusing things, what we're trying to do is minimize our technical debt so that we focus on getting the most appropriate solution as quickly as possible, and building that feedback loop together, so that through the 5th competency, continuous testing, that we are understanding and applying the approach of plan, build, and test many times a day. So the teams are going to be working in exercises where they do consider the content of an iteration and the content of the collaborative building and designing of the product to spot problems, challenge acceptance criteria, challenge feature design concepts, but also then understand how to work together to concentrate on the most important aspects, the acceptance criteria, the stories, and that in terms of quality, we understand what our team's definition of done is for a given sprint and a given iteration, so that we supplement the acceptance criteria with those tasks and those activities that we think are most important to get that quality right. Now, the scalability competency is understanding that as we work together, the processes that we adopt, we are concentrating on working together, but we do need to apply some processes, but that we recognize that as we start to change our team sizes, as we start to work in different locations, potentially, we can spot potential risks associated with the way we're working, so that we can propose changes that can be adopted and don't, again, introduce too much technical debt into how we're working. So these are the 6 key areas that have been concentrated throughout the 2.5 days of the course. So the practical experiential approach that we're adopting here is, and this diagram showing you the basic structure of the 3 days of the course. The pink boxes are showing you where we're using minimum lecture and maximum discussion to find out and discuss the ways in which these principles have been applied in projects you've worked on together, and to share experiences and share ideas. But then you'll notice that there's a significant number of practical exercises and practical time allocated in the course to put these concepts and these ideas into work. And the intention here is to use the fast feedback loop of retrospectives to try things out, and in each subsequent team exercise throughout the course, we build on learning what we're trying out, what works for us, and the emphasis on soft skills and working under pressure and working under collective teams, and learning when to lead, when to back off, when to promote ideas. It's all a key part of what we're trying to do. So the whole idea of reducing this from a 5-day course to a 3-day course is to concentrate much more on putting things into practice than pure lecture and theoretical concepts. In doing that, the team working, the soft skills are essential. So the intention of the course is that the trainer is assessing people continuously against the 6 key competences and providing people on feedback from the soft skills point of view, so that they get an idea of where their strengths and weaknesses are, and that they can take that away to put into practice in the future, the things that they might find them more effective and more productive in the future. So the intention is to mix the day up with significant amounts of time-boxed exercises to put things into practice. They get the opportunity to try a mock exam out on the 2nd day, and in day 3, basically from mid-afternoon of the 3rd day, the practical examination is scheduled. The exam itself is a 2.5-hour exam, 100 credits available, of which 60 marks need to be achieved to acquire a pass, and the pass relates to both parts 1 and 2. This is a bit different from the old PAQ course, where there was a practical and scenario-based exams which are of similar weight. Here the practical is worth up to 90 credits and the scenario-based questions are worth up to 10 credits. So the emphasis is significantly more on the practical tasks. And what the candidates are going to be asked to do as individuals is build on the skills they've been using through the past few days to complete a series of tasks associated with a release of a product backlog, a number of stories with associated designs, where they're going to be given a number of drops of an application which includes some seeded defects. So the intention is that they can assess quality, feedback issues on both functional and non-functional attributes, and to do that in a time-boxed manner. The second part of the assessment is a series of scenario-based questions. So basically, in part one, they're being asked to actually get involved in assessing the content of a backlog release, testing the stories, using test design techniques but also doing that via sessions and session-based exploratory testing. And then in part two, they're being given some opportunities to problem solve. And these scenario-based questions are not multiple choice. So the intention is that the candidate has to answer in their own words rather than just picking a pre-written or predefined solution. And the intention there is that they can demonstrate again other aspects of their practical awareness of how situations and scenarios may have to be modified or adapted. Now, the exam itself is now completely online. So if you know anybody who's done the CAT course, that was an exam where they were using paper-based session sheets to handwrite their solutions and then doing a written exam for a much longer period of time. But now all aspects of the exam are completed within an online assessment environment. So the application to be tested, the background information, and the session and test sheets are available online, and the candidates are answering directly in the exam environment. So everything is done in the online environment. There's no need to do any handwritten completion of session sheets or exam questions. Everything's to be done via the keyboard or via the mouse, and then that will be submitted up, and marking for the exam is going to take up to 3 weeks. A key aspect of this exam is that you're answering by solving real problems, so there's no pro forma solutions that are being expected, and your results are assessed by experienced Agile practitioners who then provide the feedback on the exam results. So in summary, the PAQ course is intended to replace the old Certified Agile Tester qualification. It's a shorter course and a shorter exam, but it still intends to give candidates actual practical skills-based assessment rather than recall understanding of pure theory. We're concentrating on making sure that those 6 key competencies are able to be demonstrated in the solutions that are formulated in your approach, and that this exam is now performed in an online environment rather than a paper-based environment. But a key aspect of this course, I mean, this was the case with the CAT course as well, but now that the course is 2.5 days with a 2.5-hour exam, so 3 days in total, the amount of prerequisite knowledge, I think, is going to be important to be able to keep up with the pace of the accelerated teaching and the intensity of the course. And the more you know about Agile concepts and theory, then the easier it is going to be able to get involved in the discussions and both suggest and assess both review approaches, test approaches, and be able to spot possible quality problems. So I promised you 15 to 20 minutes. So that's the basic summary of the course. Has anybody got any questions? And if you can open your mics up, if there's anything you'd like to ask.
Hi, it's Tim Gould here from Nationwide.
Hi, Tim.
Hi there. So we put a bunch of our people through CAT before.
Yeah.
CAT disappeared unexpectedly, and so we're looking for an alternative. This could, obviously this sounds like this is proposed to be the alternative. Yeah. I guess I'm quite interested in the prerequisite Agile knowledge. They weren't requiring it for CAT, although it was very useful. I know from our own training, it's a challenge to to try and do everything in one course. So you've said 2 years of potential Agile experience or a simple ISQTB type Agile. There's quite a wide discrepancy between the two. 2 years of Agile compared to just having done like a three-day ISQTB. So what are we really talking about here? The principles of Scrum in particular, or the Agile Manifesto, that sort of stuff?
I think what we're talking about is that people understand Agile Manifesto and principles. They've got the idea of what a typical either Scrum or Kanban cycle looks like, and that they are ready for working quickly in a changing environment. I think the key difference is with the 5-day CAT course, there was time to indoctrinate people who'd had zero experience. Here, I think they're going to find it very difficult if they're challenging. I'm sorry, what do you mean by a sprint? I'm sorry, what do you mean by velocity? Why don't we have written test scripts? I think if people are coming from that perspective, they're going to find it very difficult. I anticipate that as long as you've got a reasonable understanding of what Agile is trying to achieve, then you'll be able to get stuck in, if that makes sense. And I think that's the essential idea, is that there's less expectation on presenting concepts and ideas and more in let's put it into practice. I think the 2 years is probably a bit excessive.
Well, I guess that's what sort of piqued my interest. So yeah, absolutely. I get the point on the CAT course. The next 2 days you can start with, and this is the Agile Manifesto, these are the principles of Agile, and you work through that, and this is how different it is to waterfall and why we do it compared. So I guess what I'm looking at is if I was to put someone through it that hadn't had the Agile, what I'm thinking, what do I need to put in place to make sure that they're set up for it? So what do I need to fill in at least 2 days of something that is an Agile primer, so that they go in with, well, I've got the basic, I've done Scrum 101 kind of thing.
Yes, I mean, if they've done a basic Scrum course, ISKI Certified Agile Essentials, for example, or they've got an idea of what's expected of them, so that they're not in that kind of state of total shock. In the early days of CAT, for example, we would get sometimes some people on the course who were still working in waterfall, and you've got 5 days or really 4 days to kind of break their mindset. Here, the expectation is that they're coming in with that appreciation of what we're trying to do from the start.
That's really helpful. I guess I don't want to dominate the conversation, but I've just got one other question, and quickly, hopefully. And then you go into test techniques. So again, one of the things before with CAT was the idea that they would already have ICEB or something like that, so they'd understand equivalence partitioning, branch analysis, all these sorts of simple techniques that you only apply through test. So that was a given, but you did mention they'd be taught in this. So again, are you expecting that they've got that in place, or are you going to be teaching that as part of practitioner stuff?
Well, I think the intention is the more you've got the toolkit, the quicker you can work. So we're certainly expecting people to be able to analyze very quickly a story or a design characteristics and partition up test ideas. In that respect, that's what we're looking at doing. The expectation inside the classroom is not to teach people how to do partition modeling or boundary modeling in detail, but that if they want to, that they can start to apply that in the ideas they put into their session sheets and they put into their charters.
That's perfect, and I won't dominate anymore. I'll just say that what I get from that is it is a practitioner qualification, meaning that the foundation pieces should have been put in place first. You must have done something like an ICEB, and you should have done something as a primer of an Agile, and then this can take you on to the next step for actually doing the do. Thank you.
Yes, no problem. Anybody else got any questions? Okay, well, if nobody else has got anything they'd like to ask, then thanks very much for being involved. I hope you found this useful and informative. We've just mentioned, you see on this slide, we've got some references to some of those kind of courses. The Agile Foundation Extension on Agile Tester would be more than adequate to get somebody up to speed, as would courses like the ISKI Scrum Master Pro. So if you want to know more, then let us know through inquiries at TSG Trading. What we'll be doing is we'll be posting the recording of this on the website, and also we'll be sending you a link to the recording with it over the next couple of days. So thank you very much for being involved, and unless anybody's got any other questions, I'll say goodbye.
See you, John.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thanks very much.